Hi, this is Zach Semke with Passive House Accelerator, and thanks for tuning in to this special bonus episode of the Passive House podcast, recorded at Passive House Network's 2023 conference in Denver, Colorado. And a big thank you to EnerSign for the support of the series. The interview you're about to hear was hosted by Carmel Pratt, co-host of the Next Gen edition of Passive House Accelerator Live.
I'm here with a few colleagues from New York Passive House, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves.
I'm Louis Kale. I'm Director of Sustainable Design at Handel Architects.
I'm George Contarudis. I'm Principal Architect of KWH Architecture.
Sarah Beyer, Director of Sustainability at Magnuson Architecture and Planning.
So I should have started with, I'm standing here with three architects who do a lot of great policy work in the New York Passive House space and also sit on the board of the New York Passive House organization. So I'm going to start out these questions with a very broad and very, hopefully, idealistic question of what you think the future of Passive House building is.
I think we're seeing kind of the future of Passive House building in action now. In Massachusetts, we're seeing how it's being integrated into codes. We're also seeing how it is expanding beyond the kind of boundaries of multifamily into commercial, schools, institutions, and I think that what I guess in my aspirational vision for the future of Passive House is that it is something that breaks outside the boundaries of conversations like this that we're having at a conference amongst industry professionals, and it's something that is more common knowledge. And my parents are bringing up at dinner, wishing that they had a Passive House of their own, because I think a really important constituency for this movement is the people that are going to be living in these spaces, occupying these spaces, and having their children grow up in these spaces. And I think that's where we can really push policy forward.
Here. Yeah.
I mean, I fully agree with what Louis has been saying, and I think the future of Passive House and what I'm hoping to see that at some point it becomes more just widespread, but just being the norm, where we all just when we say we're doing a building, we're doing a Passive House building.
Yeah, I think it solves so many of the issues that we have right now in our infrastructure, in our way of living. Our electrification goals are easily assisted by Passive House by lowering the peak. We're protected from resiliency issues, smoke events and wildfires, and also it lifts us all up into a healthier building environment, which frankly, code minimum right now is a serious problem to our health. So I think we're recognizing that and moving in the right direction.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Passive House, not just as an operational energy certification, but as how does it co-benefit the occupants and go beyond energy? Awesome. What do you perceive or have heard to be perceived as the biggest hurdle in achieving Passive House certification, whether on the new construction or existing building retrofit side?
I think, at least at scale, one of the big hurdles is the schedule and timeline of where certification happens, how certification happens. I think, there was some discussions in our great policy session this morning about, certification not aligning with certificates of occupancy, and having that process be more integrated into our typical flow of design and construction work, I think is a big hurdle. And then I think just making sure that it's not necessarily a hurdle, more of an opportunity, but just making sure everyone is on the same page with the goals, and kind of really focusing early on, getting everyone involved, getting everyone engaged, and kind of on the same team, so that we all understand what we're looking for as we work towards certification.
One of the biggest hurdles, is it's not understood by everyone, especially those who are marketing our buildings, who are selling them. Practitioners are really starting to get it, and builders, I think, are really getting it. But just all the benefits and how much we need this solution is not in the common lexicon yet. It's we have tons of like shows, popular culture, ways that we still haven't penetrated yet.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think that the biggest hurdle that I've encountered is from the marketing side, and especially brokers who are in most cases in market-rate buildings that I've done in New York City, they're the ones driving the design criteria and how we design a building, and they're shying away from passive house mostly because they don't know what it is and its benefits, and they kind of make everybody be afraid of any cost increase that it might have.
Yeah.
I think if I can add one more thing to that, I think this marketing and understanding the process certification is, I think, a big part of that is also understanding the benefit of certification as it differs from other certifications. The idea of using Passive House but not certifying, you're missing one of the greatest benefits of Passive House, which is verification. So, LEED certification, great. It's excellent to have, but the certification process is not necessarily, it's verifying your checklist, it's not verifying the actual performance that you've put into place in the building. Whereas Passive House, on the other, it is. There is testing, there is inspections, and so certification is a critical part of actually getting what you're, putting all this effort in investing into create.
Did you know my next question? Is that why you segued so well? Yeah, I think this is a really important topic, and for practitioners who haven't yet certified, why is certification important? So you hit on the really key aspects of the testing and verification side, right? Is what I designed being implemented correctly? And how does it stand up against the targets of certification? What are the other reasons that certification matters? And what ultimately are the most important principles that are implemented from that certification?
I think it's quality assurance. That's the biggest one, and it's also saying that I'm telling to my client that, hey, I've designed it to be a passive house, but then the certifying body is confirming that it's been designed and built to what we promised it was going to be built. So it benefits the owner as well.
Yeah, I think when we're all learning, I mean, it just really benefits us all to have that check, that verification, that quality assurance. I'm not sure exactly how we're all going to end up in a place where we're building all these principles, which is where we need to go and deserve to go. But I think we'll figure it out.
I'm actually going to segue a little bit into a different area, and that's on the actual performance side. So we're talking about how certification is a good, quality assurance to what you design. But there are some things that can be lost in translation between design and construction, and I think there are even more things that can be lost in translation between construction and operation, right? Occupancy and how the building performs on an ongoing basis. So if you had to guess, and maybe you have some data, maybe you have some projects that you're following and benchmarking, how far do you think modeled performance to actual measured performance is?
Asking the tough ones. So it seems like with what limited data we've seen, it's a pretty wide range. There's a lot of data that's been put out there by some great stuff that's been done by Stephen Winter Associates, and I mean it seems like it ranges from 10% more to double. And I think one thing that we've seen with our project with the Passive House at Cornell Tech, there's certainly an increase over what was modeled, and that has fluctuated. We've checked in with it a couple times, and that has fluctuated over the years, and that reinforces, I think, fluctuated in the wrong direction, and that reinforces the fact that there needs to be continued education, continued check-in. A huge, you hit on your question, a huge part of this is the staff that is operating the building, and there's a lot of turnover in this space. There's kind of limited trainings that out there for people running high performance buildings. So I think a lot of effort needs to be put into making sure that buildings have a platform for knowledge sharing and continuity of knowledge about the building and its systems as through the life of the building. And we should be checking in and recommissioning and thinking about things as we move forward.
Yeah, our commissioning laws in New York City are so important. Owners sometimes question, like, oh, they're building the building as it was designed, as it's on the drawings, but each time you build these things, it's slightly different, and it needs to be double checked by someone who didn't build it.
Third party. Yeah. My last question is related to the passive house market and industry and how it's growing, right? You all made such great points about the future of passive house is that it's mainstream, everyone knows about it, and it's like the baseline. Like, this is how we build to start with. Are you experiencing issues with workforce, supply chain, or other shortages impacting the ability to meet the current demand of passive house?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We need more energy modelers. Every time I get a chance to talk to a young person, I emphasize how much in demand their skills will be, and there's various places in this industry with regards to passive house that they can get involved in. I think I'm really happy to see some training of heat pumps installers happening in New York, but it definitely needs to be scaled up. So it cannot happen fast enough. I honestly think, we really need to focus on capacity building.
Yeah, I agree. We talk about the capacity of the grid, for example, when it comes to flow electrification, which we need to get up there. But I agree that it's also the capacity for both energy modelers and installers. I think most of the materials are out there and they're available. So I think it's mostly people that we need to keep training at a much faster pace.
Yeah, I think there's it touches so many aspects of the industry. There's education of contractors, subcontractors, getting involved in labor unions, even discussing kind of how things are evolving over time, making sure that people are staying ahead of these changes. But it also touches. We've had a lot of conversations about as policies evolve and this gets worked into code, having people in the who are reviewing documents for building submissions, for permits, doing inspections in the field. That workforce also needs to be kind of trained up and focused on. And I think another hurdle is just simply clients. Like we need our clients that have built these things and are happy about them, and to be out there in their respective real estate groups communicating these benefits, because it's one thing for your architect to bring it up, it's another thing for someone that's saying there's been an actual financial benefit to this, and we think you should do it too. So I think there's the training and kind of experience sharing all around that needs to be developed.
Yeah, it's a great point. It happens in these settings, but we have to bring them outside of the conference space and to the mass media, and plug for Passive House Accelerator, because that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Nice transition.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Passive House podcast and for sharing your insights. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for what you do.
Awesome.